Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Home Ed Conversations. So we thought we'd actually start this episode by introducing ourselves properly for a change, because we've been obviously doing this for a while now, and I'd let it slip a little bit. So I want to make sure you guys know who we actually are. So my name is Kelly, and I am a home education sort of mentor, coach, consultant, whatever you really need me to be perfectly honest. I'm a mum of two. Been home educating now for about 4 years, I think it is roughly. And I am joined by my co-host, Ashley. So I'll let her introduce herself properly too.
Hi, I'm Ashley. Yeah, homeschooling mom of three. And this is our fifth year home educating. I can't believe how fast it's flown by.
Flown by, I'm sure. Sure it's flown by. Sometimes
Dragged at
we,
some points,
we have our moments,
mostly
right?
though.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd come and chat to you guys today about, well, we actually found ourselves in a conversation with some friends this morning, and they were talking about kind of the concept of routine and how some of us love it, some of us hate it, some of us feel like it's foisted upon us. Some of us need to do it for our kids' sake, some of us need to do it for our sakes. And we just thought it made a really good conversation, and we wanted to kind of expand upon it from our own experiences. And it's quite interesting as well, because obviously I can throw a little bit of the neurodivergence card into this as well, and we can start obviously thinking about how tricky this can be, especially when you have got a neurodivergent household and you've got a bunch of very different people all having very different needs under one roof, and especially when they're different ages, you're trying to kind of drag them through their education one way or another. And yeah, I mean, I think I'll hand it over to Ashley to start us off, really, because the conversation she was having was really interesting this morning, and we wanted to obviously kind of emulate that to start off with. So I'll let her get
Yeah.
us going.
Yeah. So this morning I stepped into a conversation halfway through. So to be fair, I missed the front end of how this all got started and brought up. But essentially, what happened is I walked into a couple of moms chatting about routines and if they have one in their home educating day or if they don't, and why or why not. And one of the moms was saying that she does have a very reliable routine that they follow every day because her children do have additional needs. And when they don't have that strict routine that they can follow, she's sort of found through trial and error that they become very dysregulated. There's troubles with dinner, bedtime. It just impacts the flow of their entire day and becomes very difficult. And so her comment was, I didn't ever make a choice to have a routine. I have to have it. If I don't
Mm.
have it, it's a problem for our family and for the life that we want to lead. And so she was saying to another mom who doesn't have a home or doesn't have like a daily routine. And by routine, I should back up and say, we wake up, breakfast is at this time, and then we spend 2 hours doing schoolwork, and that looks like this. It's always reading a book and doing handwriting and practicing a foreign language and then doing some, math and language arts in a textbook. Or maybe it's not, but, from a textbook, but it's that sort of a flow. And then we go to the park for an hour and then we have lunch. And then on Tuesdays, we do this activity. And then on Wednesdays, it's swimming, for example. But like a very kind of mapped out day that is something you're going to do reliably. And so this other mom is saying, well, we don't really do that. We sort of flow, but I wish I had a routine. And, mom number one said, well, you don't need one maybe because your child has different needs or you aren't doing it. And so it's kind of nice to have that freedom. And I think that this all sort of struck a chord with me because I was thinking, this is something that I personally ebb and flow and struggle with all the time because we feel, especially if you came from a traditional schooling background yourself, that a schedule is super important. That routine of this is what I do Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, etc., is very important. And I think that there are aspects of that that come into play regardless because your kids are going to do certain things on certain days because they have activities or you personally have activities or your husband does or partner. All of that will eventually create like a loose schedule. But if you have the desire for or the need for a more strict schedule, what does that look like? And can it be done consistently, or does that not flow with your family? And how does that fit in with your children? So, for example, I have one child who would love, or I guess respond well to a schedule. That's something that she would find lovely and enjoy. She likes to know what's happening when. I have another child who does not care, couldn't care less about what we're doing and when we're doing it, and probably would hate if I said, in 5 minutes, we're starting this because that's what we do every day. Like, that would not be okay for
Mm.
her. And then I have a third child that could probably go either way and would just be fine doing whatever. And so I personally don't like to be restricted into a schedule that I have to follow and do a certain thing at a certain time. I also hate feeling rushed and late to things. So it's
Mm.
easier for me to not have a time assigned to something and just sort of have a goal versus like saying, we have to check off all these things. And then I constantly feel stressed and anxious about meeting all those requirements. So I
Mm.
personally don't enjoy that, but it's hard, right? Because you want to kind of understand what works best for your family and what works best for your kids. And that can sort of be a hard thing to mesh together successfully without someone having to compromise somewhere along the way, which maybe is okay. But that was how we started off the conversation today, and just got me really thinking about schedules and routines, and are they important? Are they beneficial? To what extent? And who has them? So, yeah.
Mm. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I think we touched on, obviously, before we started recording, about the kind of concept that when you have been in traditional schooling, you experienced a childhood that was very much dictated for you. It was over controlled. You had quite often parents at home expecting certain behaviors from you. So there's obviously a certain amount of rushing involved in your day that, I mean, I didn't grow up with a huge amount of extracurriculars. We didn't have an awful lot of money, so I didn't have an awful lot of extra things after school. So I did have quite a nice, relaxed kind of evening typically, but you still obviously had to get your
Yeah.
reading done, your homework done. You still had dinner and obviously bath, bedtime, etc. So there's still quite a lot of routine and structure in that. And I
Yeah.
think that we would have experienced a reasonably, not always over controlled, like not to criticize it, but it's just the way it has to be when you're in a strict timed schedule where you've got kids that need to be at school by 8:30, you've got to be at work by 9, you've got
Yep.
XYZ to achieve before you've got to do pick up at 3. Like there's a certain amount of structure and routine that has to go into that, where you have to make sure that you are watching that clock and you know what's happening next, and you've got like uniform washed and you've got like packed lunches made and all of those things. And I
Yeah.
think that I find it really, I actually was talking to a parent about this once, saying that if you think about the reason why so much of our self-care and like even just making sure we've had lunch or we've had a shower or we've done all the things that we should do in our day, the reason why our routine disappears so much is that you spent most of your childhood having it dictated to you. And actually, as an adult, especially if you've chosen a lifestyle like home education, which is so much more free flow, you are now in charge of deciding when those things happen. And you're still waiting for someone to give you permission. And
Yeah.
they're not going to do that. That's not coming. So you almost have to reach a point where you say to yourself, no, do you know what? Okay, I am not eating lunch. I have to make sure I eat lunch. This is insane. I'm going to feel ill. I literally feel awful every afternoon. I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, like I'm grouchy, I'm not able to get through the evening routine because I'm so maxed out, because I haven't sat, I haven't rested, I haven't had anything for lunch, I haven't gone and gotten some fresh air, whatever it might be. And so we
Yeah.
do have to be really mindful that without some sort of loose routine, even if, as you say, it's like a really baggy, like I shower on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, or like whatever, like when you
Yeah.
look at your diary and say, those are my easier mornings, those are the mornings when I'll shower. Having some vague structure to your week is actually more likely to become beneficial to you in time. Like we all know, right? We all get told this, that having some general routine is good. And obviously you see all these like millionaires waking up at 5 in the morning, only ever wearing the
Yes.
same suit, having the same
Right.
breakfast, doing the same meditation, like that they take all those decisions out of it and they just like go through
Yeah.
the motions of their day. And it sounds wonderful, right? But I think that as, I don't know, like as a person with ADHD as well, it makes me physically stressed. I can feel my chest tightening at the thought of having to be so strict with myself every single day, even though the decision paralysis of having to decide like, what subjects should we do today? What activities should I do to kind of actually cover those subjects? What are they going to enjoy? What do they want to do today? Are they going to resist this? Is it too city downy? Like, oh my goodness, the decisions that come with every mealtime, what I'm going to wear, where we're going to go, who we're going to see, what time it's going to happen, what time do we need to leave, do we need a packed lunch? Like, oh my goodness, I can't
Yeah.
handle it sometimes. And so I probably could do with having somebody who is literally dictating my life for me and just saying to me, right, it's Monday, you need to be up, washed and dressed by 8, and you need to have made packed lunches by 8:30, and then you're going to do 1 hour of literacy because otherwise you're not going to find time this week. And you know what I mean? Like, maybe I could do with having someone actually do that for me. And there are some brilliant AI tools out there, actually, like Motion and
There are,
loads of other
yeah.
different ones that you can potentially just chuck all of your weekly routine stuff into, and it will help you to actually rework your time. So you don't even have to think about it. But then I resist those too. I don't particularly
Yeah.
like having them like notify me on my phone, like, you're supposed to be doing this now. It's just like, yeah, right, when I don't want to. Um,
Exactly.
really doesn't help me, but maybe it would if I could stop being so demand avoidant about it. But yes, so this is the interesting kind of side to it, that if you have got neurodivergence in the house, then you're potentially dealing with demand avoidance. You're dealing with ADHD, means that you've got to want to do it. It's got to matter to you. You've got to have your be in your bonnet about it. Like, it really has to matter. And so actually, if I tried to force a structure or routine onto my family, I suspect that it could, in a lot of ways, have quite negative consequences. I could actually experience a lot more frustration and dysregulation out of it. But on the flip side, actually, there have been moments when a structure has really helped us all to get over a particularly difficult period where actually it is all kind of feeling like it's falling by the wayside, and we are actually feeling a little bit stressed. And it just helps
Yeah.
to put everybody's mind at rest that we are actually hitting a few metrics, and we can just, like,
Yeah.
most things stay pretty relaxed, but then we know that we have definitely done a bit of reading, a bit of writing, a bit of maths, a bit of science, and we have actually followed some sort of loose topic, and it's made us all just feel a bit better that they are doing some structured things. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how depending on the family, you might feel like actually you are actually pretty relaxed in that lovely free flow thing, and you actually don't, you feel like you are covering things and your brain can remember that you've covered them, and actually you don't really need to worry about it, and they can see they're progressing great, and actually the ideas come to you easily. Like, that might be who you are, and so that might feel really easy to be in a free flow environment. But for some of us it takes a lot of energy and thought, and so actually having some planning and organizing ahead genuinely might really help your mental health and help you to actually feel like you're on top
Yeah.
of it, and you're, yeah, that you can trust your process, and you can trust your kids more, and you can trust daily life. If something comes up and something means that everything gets thrown out, you don't suddenly feel like it's derailed everything. You can just be like, oh, that's okay, I can see that I have a bit of time
Right.
on Thursdays, so I can slot that in then instead, and you'll know that it'll happen later. But if that's, it really will depend on how you work.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing where I feel like this is like the double-edged sword with home ed, is the lovely part of it is that you have this flexibility that you can take advantage of situations. Like, there is not a lot of sunny days here right now. So if it's
Hmm.
sunny, I want to scrap everything and spend the whole day at the park. And we did
Hmm.
that the other day. The girls spent hours. I think it was like, oh my gosh, it was hours, like
Yeah.
3 or 4 hours at the park. And something like that, especially as we come into winter and it's getting colder and darker and cloudier, you I love that we can do that, right? It doesn't matter. They're not missing, it's not like they're in school, so they can't be out of school, right? So that part is lovely. But the flip side to that is then if I take that designated learning time and make it now playtime, it is very hard for my kids to come back to learning later in the day.
Hmm.
Like, it's easy to say, okay, it's starting to get dark around like 4 o'clock now. So go outside and play. They want to ride bikes. They want to do that. Okay. And that's great. And then we'll come back in around 4:15, and we can still do like 45 minutes of work before we're kind of at the end of the day. It just doesn't happen. They can't
No.
transition back into that. My oldest one can, and I do her and I were doing math at like 7 o'clock the other night, but my other two cannot, and arguably it's less important for them, so that's okay. But
Mm.
this is the thing where I feel like sometimes if I deviate from a schedule, that I've loosely put together on maybe a Sunday night, that time can almost be lost. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in fact, I was saying to my oldest, because we didn't get to what I thought we would get to today, because we had like a to renew my daughter's passport. We ended up driving almost to London to do that, right? And so it kind of took our afternoon away. I was like, okay, we are going to have to do some work on Sunday.
Mm.
So it's just going to have to happen. And the other side of this is children do homework all the time on the weekends. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, oh gosh, we have to do school on a Sunday. But like most kids probably are doing school on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. It just doesn't look like what we call school, right? They're just doing all their homework. So I think it's almost like the perspective that I have to shift to look at it. But I am feeling, and maybe this is another side to it too, as the children get older and maybe they're taking on a little bit more coursework and, working on some more complex topics, maybe they do need more of a routine than we had in the early years because it
Mm-hmm.
is harder to do everything we want to do in a week because there's just more of it or it requires more time, more reading. And yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I struggle though. I don't want to be held down by the schedule, but I'm almost tempted to give it a try for a couple weeks and just to see if it would be something that would, like you were saying, taking away the decision fatigue and just waking up in the morning and knowing, okay, we're having breakfast and then we're going upstairs and we're going to do some coursework and that's what we're going to do. And then after that, we have all day to play.
Yeah.
Maybe forcing that is something we'll have to do. And then I do think the other thing is, and we kind of talked about this a little bit this morning too, which I hadn't told you about earlier, is that there are now so many opportunities for home ed to be involved in different groups, different organizations, different home ed days at museums and et cetera, all different places. And you can almost sign yourself up for a full week
Mm.
of activities, and then you're almost overscheduled, right?
Yeah.
And so easy to see that. And so I'm almost saying to myself, like, no, I need to back off. I love doing those things. I want to take advantage of them, but I
Mm-hmm.
almost need to peel back a little bit and say, like, whoa, we are losing our home time. Like we're just
Yes.
doing too many things. So,
Yeah. I was going to say, I have
yeah.
to really heavily guard the home days.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, my home days are Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And we home ed 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So, whereas, like, sort of talk about weekends, my husband works shifts. So, there are no
Right.
such thing as weekends in this family. Like, we don't do a Sunday roast. We don't, there is no like
Yeah.
Monday morning feeling. Like, the weeks just roll into one. Like, they just keep on
Yeah.
going. And sometimes that is exhausting and it feels really, really hard. And so we will take breaks, obviously, through the year. Like, I'm not crazy, but we are very much subscribers of the like life is learning, learning is life. And so when we are having a tough
Yeah.
week, I will do a lot of observation instead of maybe dictating subjects or doing specific things. I will just notice where the kids have been using numbers or where they have been using certain science skills or where they've been curious about something, where they've been creative, where they've maybe done some mark making. Like my husband, my son left me a note the other morning, a beautifully written note. I was so proud of him because he doesn't write very often, not out of choice,
Yeah.
but he didn't want to wake me up. So he left me a note asking whether or not we could play a game called Age of Empires together. He likes playing it with me at some point that day. And
So
it
considerate.
just really made me smile. Like, it's really, really cute. And yes, I just tend to observe. I just try and notice where they have actively done those things themselves. And I haven't necessarily dictated it or asked them to do it. That does help with difficult weeks. But ultimately, because we are doing bits all the time, and I think I mentioned this in the last episode, so I won't go into it in too much detail, but essentially we've got our list of subjects that we try to cover every week, sort of 15, 20 minutes at least twice on all subjects, basically. And that amounts to obviously plenty of hours over the course of the week of things that
Hmm.
have been actively chosen to be done. And obviously we'll often go above and beyond it as well, but that just helps me to feel more relaxed. But that, like, we will sometimes get to Sunday and I'll be like, I am really sorry, guys, but we've still got like 4 things to check off on this list. Like,
Yeah.
we haven't done it all, and we have been trying as a family to work towards a full completed chart for each week so that we can as a family earn a little kind of fun day out or something. Like we just kind of
I
said,
like
like
that.
it's for me
Yeah.
too. It's a bit of motivation for me too. So it's like if we manage to complete like most of the weeks entirely, then we'll obviously be able to go and do this extra fun day out. And the more stars we manage to get done, the more fun we get to do. Like how the bigger the day out gets to be. It's got my own version of a sticker chart for myself. It's
I
hilarious.
like that.
But it's
Group
definitely like a
effort.
full collaborative effort. Like it's not an
Hmm.
individual thing. And anyway, so it's just we are kind of experimenting with all kinds of different motivations. But as someone with ADHD, again, I do respond well to some extrinsic motivation, like a reward, some chocolate,
Hmm.
a nice coffee, the promise of getting to go and watch an hour's TV if I've managed to finish this, that, and the other. Like, as much as I don't want to fill my kids' heads with the idea of having to work and then play, that's absolutely not how we work all the time. Like, I can see how a little bit of gentle motivation with these things does inspire them to want to work a bit harder at something and to take some responsibility for it too. And so actually we have to hack ADHD a little bit. You've got to try and encourage your brain to jump over that 10-foot wall that stands between you and every single task that you're supposed to achieve in life.
Yeah.
So I try and always keep it relevant and make sure they're interested in what we're learning about. But I will kind of say to them, come on guys, like let's go do some reading. So just they can read whatever they want. Like I couldn't care less what they read as long as we do some reading.
Yeah.
Just go grab something. Couldn't care less. So anyway, I think what's really important for me is recognizing that they might need some gentle structure. And I mean, we don't do screens now, for example, until about 1 o'clock. That isn't a hard and fast rule, but it does allow us to have that wake up, stay awake. Like screens just switch us all off, and I'm me included. Like if I go straight on the TV and just watch a bit of telly first thing in the morning, it's going to take me hours to get going after that.
Right.
So we tend to avoid screens until about 1, unless we do sometimes do kind of educational screens. We might do some apps or whatever, but it's very much like together doing things constructively, not just watching YouTube or whatever. But yeah, so we do, yeah, that's our new routine. I've been doing that now for a few months, and actually I have seen a massive uptick in participation and enthusiasm, and we're getting a lot more done. And actually I feel like I can cover a lot with them really in the space of a couple of hours, and a lot of it is still free play. Like it's not, let us say they're only like 5 and 7, so they're not
Yeah. Still quite young.
very old yet, so I've still got some time before it needs to be a lot more structured really. But yeah, I think this is the thing about routine as well, like you were saying before, that it, as they get older, you do feel like an internalized pressure, but I
Yeah.
suppose it's external pressure that's been internalized to up the difficulty, to make it a bit stricter, to have more topics or subjects or go deeper on things. And that does
Yeah.
take more time. That does take more concentration. It does take more willingness and participation from them. And I think this is where, again, I guess, yes, structure, routine, etc. is one thing, but also that child-led following what they're interested in and helping them to utilize that to expand on concepts is super important, because you do need to get them to have that buy-in, and
Yeah.
to want to do it and to be enjoying it. Otherwise, you may well set a routine and you want them to all follow it, but if everyone's just giving you jip all the time, there's no way you're going to stick to it. Like it's just going to make you want to throw it out of the bag and just be like, sorry, just go watch the telly then, and whilst you go and cry into a cup of coffee. Like
Yeah.
nobody loves spending a whole Sunday planning for a week and having everybody just grumble at it and want to go off and play games. Like that's super hard on us. And so you have got to be really intuitive about this and notice, is this actually right for your family? Like don't think, oh no, well, I'm listening to these guys and I've got to go and make some hard and fast routine. No, please do not do that. Like be conscious of your life, because if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. So don't force things that aren't necessary, but do definitely be mindful, I guess, of your own experience, I guess, is what I'm kind of getting at really there. Like, is this going to help or
Yeah.
not? Like, what would you actually feel good doing?
Yeah. I think encouraging, the permission, I guess, to try
Hmm.
some form of it, right? Like whether it's a, looking at where you are now, and if everything is working now, then that's great. Don't worry about it. You're doing
Mm.
great. But if there is some desire to have a little more structure to your day, then I think the underlying question of why is that is really important, right?
Mm.
Because for me, I think the reason that I am curious about this at this moment is because my 10-year-old is embarking on more difficult concepts and more time consuming, I guess, not necessarily difficult, but
Mm.
it's just starting to take more time, right? She's not writing a couple of sentences anymore. Now it's paragraphs and papers and different kinds of reading
Mm.
comprehension. And we're doing it in various ways that are fun and, kind of off the page, but there's still a lot of, it's just a lot of time that
Yeah.
we have to spend doing it. And so I think that is just something where I'm wondering, okay, how do we now fit all these little boxes together to make our day? And
Mm.
so I might dabble with a bit of a structure on maybe our home days, to say, okay, we are going to spend a little bit more time doing language arts than we were before, and see how that goes. I don't know. I'll have to report back. But I think that there's no right or wrong way. I think it's just going to depend on you and your family and your children
Mm.
and how they receive it. But I'm going to have to give it a try and we'll see,
Yeah.
see how it goes.
And I think this is a thing, like when you're trying to be a very mutually respective parent and to kind of really
Yeah.
being a conscious parent and whatever kind of version of that you want to call it, basically, there is very much an importance around collaboration with this. So, as you say, figuring out the reasons why you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I need to get this sorted out because it's chaos. Is it that you're feeling insecure about your capabilities to teach them? Is it that you're worried that you're failing them? Is it that you're worried about the outcomes? Is it that they're coming up to an exam period of their life and you want them to do them and they're not really bothered
Yeah.
and you're worried about their future? Like, is it that you're actually just exhausted and you just feel like you're constantly trying to push a ball up a hill and stuff just keeps getting in the way and you just never feel like you're actually getting anywhere? Is it that you're getting a lot of resistance? Like,
Right.
having a good look at it. And as I say, I work with families on this all the time and I'm forever in various forums like answering people when they're saying this exact problem, like, I don't know what's going on. And it's like, it's very, very important to recognize the reason behind it, to
Yeah.
have a lot of self-compassion. And this is where our own internal work comes in, because then we have to really think to ourselves, okay, so I'm worried about how successful they'll be if I don't make sure that they understand 3D shapes at the age of 7. And it's like, this is the example
Yeah.
from me this week, guys. So this is where I'm getting this from. So I was having a little internal conversation about like, oh, I haven't done much about 3D shapes. Do I even know what most of these 3D shapes are called? No. And I'm just like, goodness, I need to learn this because I need to be able to teach them because they need to know this and they need to be able to do this. And then, oh my goodness, hilarious. And I was just like, okay, but you don't know it. And you're a very successful 35-year-old woman. So why is it actually important that they know this? And why are you suddenly so panicky that they don't? And
Right.
what is it that you really need to cover? Like, what is it that they need to do with it? Like, are we talking practical things here? Are we talking like that they need to understand the volume of these shapes? Like, what is it that's going through your head right now? Like, what
Right.
is so bad about this? Why are you panicking about it? And all it was that I had skimmed through the year 3 curriculum, is what my son's year would be, just to get some ideas on stuff that maybe we hadn't
Yeah.
covered or like stuff we could touch on. And I
Really
had
cool.
noticed that I hadn't done much on 3D shapes. Like, we have done some, obviously, but not a lot. And so my brain instantly kind of kicked into, oh my goodness, kids his age are doing this. And so we have got to watch out for these intrusive thought moments when
Yeah.
suddenly we have got this weird external pressure that didn't matter a jot to us 5 minutes ago and is now
Yeah.
breathing down our necks, that if somebody asked me, does he know what a dectahedron is? And I'd be like, what the heck is a
What?
dectahedron? Like, that actually, I wouldn't care about that, truthfully, unless he can see a practical reason for knowing that. And I mean, I have thought of some since, things like obviously architecture, making the
Sure.
best use of a space, maybe kind of designing certain vehicles, like certain shapes will work for certain things. And obviously see these incredible, like, if you look at how, like, for example, the cogs, etc., that create the turn on the back wheels that power a vehicle that make it go forward, it's actually a really complex combination of shapes and patterns that they figured out that it helped to turn out the
Interesting.
pistons. It was really cool. Like, I was watching a really great video about it the other day. Really
Nice.
random videos. But yeah, like, you can see how these things do matter and they can obviously have really impactful, inspirational qualities, which is why
Yeah.
they're important. Concepts are important because the more they're exposed to, the more opportunities open up for them in their future. But
Yeah.
the point is that my initial panic about it, like, oh, I need to buy this, I need to do this, I need to cover this, actually wasn't true. There was no fire. And our
Yeah.
brain does have this like panic mode that it just
Yeah.
shifts into when it suddenly thinks that we're not good enough, that we're not covering enough, that we're not doing it right, that they're not going to be successful, that they must be falling behind. And we don't even agree with most of these feelings most of the time. But the little, like, as we sometimes refer to it, the devil on our shoulder is going to be sitting there whispering these things into your ear. And the work is in recognizing those thoughts and actually having that
Yeah.
conscious, critical thought and being able to say, okay, I hear you, but actually there is no fire. Let's calm down. We can absolutely cover this a little bit more over the next however long. I'll think of some creative ways to make this a part of our play. Like, I'll get some stuff that they can play with, or I'll do some more junk modeling with them, or we'll go and have a look at 3D shapes when we're on our walks or whatever. And we'll find some
Yeah.
fun ways to integrate this into our day, but we don't have to suddenly change our entire routine to ensure that we've got a proper structured maths lesson every week because I feel like I'm missing bits. We just have to take a
Yeah.
breath. And I think sometimes that can be like the panic is actually coming because something else is going wrong in our life right now. Like, actually, we are feeling out of control with our health or with our work or with our house management or whatever. And so we've actually then find ourselves putting pressure on the kids and to put them into a more structured routine because actually we feel out of control with something else. And so doing that work, actually sitting with the feeling for a minute and saying, okay, you want to change everything right now. You are
Right.
literally wanting to
Right.
overhaul the whole life. What is going on? And trying to get not even necessarily to the bottom of it, but scrape a couple layers away at least, have a little look at what might be just beneath the surface of what is bothering you right now, and then see if there's anything you can do about those core issues. Like, it isn't always about the kids, it isn't always about home ed. Most of the time it probably
Yeah.
isn't actually, but when it does come up to the surface and we are feeling worried about it for some reason, it could have been a million different things that have made you think that, but chances are you're actually doing great and your kids
Yeah.
are doing a really great job of absorbing concepts and are actually exposed to thousands every single day without you doing a single bit of work. And that maybe all it could take is to get a new toy or to get a new resource or to watch a different documentary. Like my
Yeah.
kids today talking about weather, just we did a bit of structured stuff and then I was like, right, I need to get something done, so can you guys just go watch a weather documentary, just put it on the little voice thing, you just say weather and see what it gives you.
See what
And so
comes
they watched
up.
something about a hurricane and they love it,
I
and they
like
basically
that.
watched a thing about hurricanes, and my son has been fired up all day being like, it's a series, mummy, do you want to come and watch the next one with me? And oh, that was so interesting, and they were measuring this and they were doing that, and it's just like, my goodness. And
Nice.
so I know now that I have got buy-in. I have got a kid who's ready to learn thanks to
Yeah.
me telling them to go away and watch something. So actually, we don't need to be over controlling this stuff, right? Like, we don't
No.
necessarily need
Yeah.
for it to be successful all the time. Like, we might, your kids might need it.
Yeah.
They might need you to literally egg them along every single second of the day. That
Do
might be
it.
true. But definitely look at whether or not you are over controlling. And you are kind of feeling like you have to, or else everything will fall apart. Maybe there are some actual ways that you could be easing up on yourself a little bit and giving yourself a bit of a break too. That there might be something there that could actually be like, do you know what, actually, maybe I could leave them to go do that element by themselves now. Like, as your eldest gets older, that coursework that's taking you a lot of time to sit through, soon enough, she'll be able to do it by herself. You'll be able to set the task,
Yeah.
let her get on with it for a couple of hours, and then come back and check on
Come
her
back.
whilst you're doing other stuff with the other two. So, like, it will
Yeah. We're
change.
getting
And
there.
it changes
Yeah.
constantly, right?
Yeah. That's so true. And because we're getting to that point where there's a lot she does on her own, which is great. But then I think there's just also just the general struggle of like, sometimes being the oldest, it's annoying to watch your sisters play, even though you know that when they're your age, they're going to do the same thing. It's like
Mm.
in that moment, they do not care about that. So
No.
there's also just the motivational aspect, but that just comes down to so much of the stuff, like you were saying, read a book, I don't care what book. We're still in
Yeah.
our horse era. So if I can find something related to horses, I can usually make it happen. So yeah, so I try a lot of that. but the more motivation, like I just need this perfect combination of like motivation and interest and time. So we'll get there.
We're looking for the holy grail here, Ashley.
I
I've
mean,
got
it
to
is
be
the
honest.
trifecta. It is the trifecta. I don't see why it's unachievable.
I think
Should
we
be
need
just
to find
fine.
ourselves a magician.
Should be just fine.
Honestly, I mean, like a witch or a wizard somewhere who can just make this just happen. Every day would be great. But yeah, no, I think it's such a great conversation because I think so many of us out there spend our time like constantly ebbing and flowing between freaking out about this and being like, oh, everything seems to be okay, or seeing good
Yeah.
progress.
Okay.
Yeah. Yet another episode where we remind you to cut yourself a little bit of slack. And also, yeah, just to kind of find the joy in this as well, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people out there who get to actually dictate their own schedule for the week. So just a little kind of reminder there as well about how, like, a little bit of
So
gratitude,
true.
I guess, in the fact
Yeah.
that actually there's a lot of people out there who may well be listening to this wanting to punch us, I suppose, for the fact that they
Yeah.
actually really feel like they haven't got any
Yes.
flexibility in the routine they've got, and they actually just have to do it that way because otherwise it really does never get done. And
Yeah.
that's really tough. And so just kudos to anyone who is like trying to hold down a full-time job and home educating or whatever it is you're trying to do, because yeah, sometimes you
Yeah.
have just got to squidge it in where it goes, and they have not got a choice, and it's got to get done, and that's just that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we are very, very lucky. And I do see the privilege in my week of being able to say, okay, actually, yeah, we'll go do drama club on a Monday morning, and then we'll go do this on a Thursday, and like we'll
Yeah.
do our maths on a Tuesday, and like actually getting to make
Totally.
those choices about when we do those things and how we do them and what they look like. And
Yeah.
yeah, if it gets thrown by the wayside, then oh well, never mind. We'll just do a little bit extra next week. Like, not a lot of kids are being given the opportunity to create their own education that way, to have that collaboration, to choose subjects, to have their own independent thoughts and ideas about what they want to learn about, and to like the potential for their future ability to roll with the punches, to flip between roles, to be able to be multi-skilled, to be able to deal with stress and problem solving and the critical thinking that comes with having an ever-changing like landscape as adults where you've constantly got challenges
Yeah.
being chucked at you left, right, and center. Like, their ability to just roll with the punches, to pick up a new thing, to be like, oh, okay, we're shifting to this now, like,
Yeah.
it will just be unfounded. And I think I just think that's really wonderful, knowing the type of skill set that these kids are going to have, having had the opportunity to meet their own needs, to move, to eat, to drink, to play, to explore, to be curious, to pick up their work when they can do work, to have parents who cared this much
Yeah.
about helping them to foster those independent skills in their learning. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't imagine how much more golden that can get, really. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well done,
It's all
everybody.
gonna be good. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's us for today. So I think have gotten, I think maybe two more episodes after this until we're going to
Yeah.
break for Christmas. I think that's right. Anyway, I need to double check the maths later. So yeah, I hope that you guys have been enjoying this season. Please do reach out to us. We've had a few ideas in the last couple of episodes, but as always, we want your thoughts. We want to know what you want us to talk about as well. Is there anything that's bothering you right now? So please do reach out, and whether it's on social media, drop me an email, whatever you want to do. And of course, we will see you again next week. So speak to you all soon. Take care.
Bye.